We are not saying Abraham's wife didn't exist. We are saying that oftentimes when the Bible is talking about a woman, it's talking about a doctrine. Okay? We first need to get some terminology straight about wives and mothers. The Bible is spiritual, and you must approach it in a spiritual form. Let's start with wives. We're going to go to Genesis chapter 6, verse 1. And it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them. So daughters were born unto these men. Remember, the Bible is written in a masculine form. It's not gender specific. Okay? So the men can be women or men. All right? And daughters were born unto them. So it's saying daughters was being born, right? We know daughters mean doctrines. But keep reading and you're going to get it. That the sons of God, son mean follower. Okay? The sons of God saw the daughters of men, the doctrines of men, that they were fair. They liked them doctrines. And they took them wives of all which they chose. So they started following those doctrines. All right? And the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for he also is flesh, he carnal. Yet his days shall be 120 years. There were giants in the earth in those days. And also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, they bare children of them, followers. So they started preaching these doctrines. The same became mighty men, which were of old men of renown. The giants are men of renown. That's what it's telling you. Verse 5. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart, mind, was only evil continually. Y'all see that? So it's telling you that these men, the sons of God, which were the descendants of Adam, that means son means follower. So these are the people who have been learning in line, all of those people under Adam's line that kept the doctrine going, that was preachers of the Most High's doctrine. All right. There came a point in time when those men started listening to doctrines of other men. So these are the men who were not of Adam's line. They had doctrines too. So they started liking how those people were living instead of following the doctrine that the Most High gave them. And then they started opening up churches, teaching the people the doctrines of those men. So here they have the doctrine of God, and they're mixing the doctrines with the doctrines of men, and they became giants, just like they've done now. They've taken the doctrine of Moses and they mixed it with the doctrine of Jesus Christ. And these men have become giants because there's no doctrine that can compete with the doctrine that they have, or so they think. Let's keep reading here so we can give you some more information about these wives. So they took wives of those doctrines, right? Genesis 26. Talking about Esau. Genesis 26, verse 34. And Esau was 40 years old when he took to wife Judith, the daughter of Beeri the Hittite, and Bashemath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite. So it's telling you that Esau began to follow other doctrines. You see that? Instead of following the doctrine that Isaac gave him, he started mixing doctrines with other nations. All right. Which was a grief of mine unto Isaac and Rebekah. See, they were grieved that he followed the doctrines of the Hittites instead of the doctrine that Isaac gave. Genesis 20:28. And Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and charged him and said unto him, Thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan. He's saying, don't come and learn these doctrines and start following the doctrines of these people of Canaan, right? Canaan is the son of Ham. The doctrine of Ham, the Most High, cursed his son Canaan. So all the people that's following Ham's doctrine, his doctrine was to continue into wickedness. And the Most High cursed him because he didn't correct his father when Noah was in that vineyard. He was getting that vineyard set up. That's Cain's doctrine, is to uncover nakedness. He won't correct sin. That's the doctrine of the Hittites. Whenever the Israelites came in and took the land, the Hittites, they had doctrines that were against the doctrines that the Most High had gave. And Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and charged him and said unto him, Thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan. Arise, go to Padan Aram, to the house of Bethuel, my mother's father, and take thee a wife from thence, from the daughters of Laban, thy mother's brother. And God Almighty bless thee, and make thee fruitful, and multiply thee, that thou mayest be a multitude of people, and give thee the blessings of Abraham to thee and to thy seed with thee, that thou mayest inherit the land wherein thou art a stranger, which God gave unto Abraham. And Isaac sent away Jacob, and he went to Padan Aram unto Laban, the brother of the son of Bethuel, the Syrian, the brother of Rebekah, Jacob's and Esau's mother. When Esau saw that Isaac had blessed Jacob, he sent him away to Padan Aram to take a wife from thence, and that as he blessed him, he gave him a charge, saying, Thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan. And that Jacob obeyed his father and his mother, and was gone to Padan Aram. And Esau, seeing that the daughters of Canaan pleased not Isaac his father. Verse 9. Then went Esau unto Ishmael, and took unto the wives which he had Mahalath, the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son, the sister of Nebajoth, to be his wife. So Esau is thumbing his nose up at his parents, right? Because he's angry that Jacob got the blessing, all right? So he's taking wives of Ishmael. Though Ishmael was carnally born of Abraham, he did not follow Abraham's doctrine. He learned a different doctrine. So Esau, he's collecting doctrines. That's what the Bible's saying. He's collecting doctrines. All right? He's following the doctrine now of Ishmael. He's not following Isaac's doctrine. Now let's examine the word mother. You should be pretty confident now that the word wives is talking about marrying doctrines. Okay? It's talking about marrying doctrines. That's what wives is talking about. Now let's look at the word mother. Proverbs chapter 1, verse 8. My son, hear the instruction of thy father, and forsake not the law of thy mother. Mother is the law. Okay? The law is a doctrine. A mother is a doctrine. All right? Let's go to a couple chapters up. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 6, verse 20. My son, keep thy father's commandment and forsake not the law of thy mother. Mother is a doctrine. Law. Galatians chapter 4, verse 26. But Jerusalem, which is above, is free, which is the mother of us all. Jerusalem is a doctrine because it's a mother. It's saying those two things are the same. Mother and Jerusalem, that's the law. All right? The original law was called Jerusalem. We're going to go to Genesis chapter 2. We're about to read about another mother. Genesis chapter 2, verse 21. And the Lord caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs is a bone, and closed up the flesh instead thereof. And the rib which the Lord God had taken from man made he a woman. A woman is a doctrine. And brought her unto the man. Now, we're not saying that Adam and Eve wasn't two human beings, but we're telling you it's talking about something deeper. Okay? And Adam said, This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. A man creates a doctrine in his mind. Y'all see that? Therefore shall a man leave his father and mother. So the father is the one that teaches him. The son is a follower of his father. All right. And his mother, that's the law he was raised on, and shall cleave unto his wife. So he's going to take what he learned from his father and his mother, and he's going to create a doctrine based upon what he was taught. And they shall be one flesh. That's what it's talking about. That doctrine, he's going to create his own doctrine based upon what he was taught by his father and his mother. Right? That's his wife. That explains what a mother is. And that's how men or woman, create doctrines. Everybody follows a doctrine. Okay? Don't get caught up in the word man. The word man means human. That's all that means. Mankind. Human. That's what it's talking about. It's not gender specific. That woman is a doctrine. All right? So let's get you to understanding what these bones are. So that you know, a bone is a doctrine. A rib is a doctrine. He took a doctrine and created a woman out of it. Y'all see that? So let's see. We're going to go to Job. Get you some understanding. Job chapter 10, verse 11. Thou hast clothed me with skin and flesh, and have fenced me with bones and sinew. We already told you that skin is a doctrine. Genesis 25 and 25. His skin, talking about Esau, was red like a hairy garment. The skin is a garment. A garment is a doctrine. We read it before. It's something that clothes you. They clothe with skin. We all clothe with skin. We got a doctrine. Okay? So let me read it again. Verse 11. Thou hast clothed me with skin and flesh. So he's telling you the clothing that you have is skin and flesh. That means you got a doctrine. And has fenced me with bones and sinew. The bones are also doctrines. Y'all see that? Okay. Let's go to Job 20. Bones mean doctrine. Job chapter 20, verse 11. His bones are full of the sin of his youth. It's equating bones. Sin is doctrine, okay? You're going against the doctrine. Which shall lie down with him in the dust. All right? So, it's saying sin and dust. So it's making a comparison. Dust has no water. All right? That's what sin is. It's got no water. It's got no understanding. That's a doctrine. Okay? It's talking about doctrine. All right? Let's go to Sirach. That's in the Apocrypha. It's Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha. As they use this particular book in order to degrade women. And primarily, chapter 25 and 26, they stay in those chapters because those chapters are talking about women. But the people don't know a woman is a doctrine. So it's not talking about an actual woman. If you were to read this thing without knowing what I'm telling you, you think women were disgusting and evil and wicked. But that's not what the Bible's talking about. Ecclesiasticus chapter 26 and verse 13. The grace of a wife delighteth her husband. So you marry a doctrine. A wife is a doctrine that you marry. The grace of a wife delighteth her husband, and her discretion will fatten his bones. The discretion of your doctrine is going to make your doctrine good and pleasing. That's what that's saying. Derive, when you accept your doctrine based upon what you learned from your mother and your father. So you're looking at what you were taught by your father. And if what your father taught is the law that we're supposed to follow, which is your mother, you're going to go and you're going to make a doctrine, a wife, of what their experience have taught you and what you see as your moral compass. It's talking about that doctrine can fatten your bones. Your bones is your law. All right. Genesis chapter 17. So we give you some more information about these mothers. All right. Genesis chapter 17. Mother means something. It means law. We read it. Proverbs 1 and 8. Genesis chapter 17, verse 15. And God said unto Abraham, as for Sarai thy wife, thou shalt not call her name Sarai, but Sarah shall her name be. So now the Most High is making a distinction between women and doctrines. Y'all see that? And I will bless her and give thee a son also of her. Yea, I will bless her, and she shall be a mother of nations. Kings of people shall be of her. Y'all see that? So it's telling you that lady named Sarai that Abraham married died a long time ago. But you know, we still talking about that doctrine named Sarah that Abraham passed down to Isaac. Y'all see that? A mother is a doctrine. A mother is a doctrine. They did the same thing about Rebecca. Let's go to Genesis 24. You have to have spiritual eyes. If you have spiritual eyes, you will be able to see what the Most High is saying. A mother is a doctrine. Genesis chapter 24, verse 58. And they called Rebekah and said unto her, wilt thou go with this man? So the woman's name is Rebekah, and the doctrine's name is Rebekah. And they called Rebekah and said unto her, wilt thou go with this man? And she said, I will go. And they sent away Rebekah their sister, and her nurse, and Abraham's servant, and his men. Verse 60. And they blessed Rebekah, and said unto her, Thou art our sister. Be thou the mother of thousands of millions, and let thy seed possess the gate of those which hate them. Y'all see that? They call her the mother. That lady who Isaac married a long time ago named Rebekah, she died a very long time ago. But we still talking about the doctrine called Rebekah to this day. Y'all have to see that. These are the mysteries that Christ was talking about. You have to get these mysteries of the kingdom of heaven so that you will have salvation, that you will be redeemed. A mother is a doctrine. Okay. Now let's learn about how both Sarah and Rebekah were taken from their husbands. It is spiritually talking about who our forefathers were. Their occupation was a prophet or a teacher. When they took away their wives, they wouldn't let them teach the word. That's what that's talking about. Some leaders explain this scripture by telling you that Abimelech took Sarah because the Israelite woman was so beautiful in comparison to all other women. This is a Jewish fable, and here's the proof. Genesis chapter 18, verse 11. Now Abraham and Sarah were old and well stricken in age. That means they were old. And it ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of women. That means Sarah was very, very old. This scripture is 2 chapters before Sarah being taken from Abraham. Sarah was old and stricken with age. There are many young women in the land where Abraham went to sojourn. Why would Abimelech prefer an old stricken woman to a young woman? If you read the scriptures carnally, it causes you to err. I'm going to translate this to you spiritually. We're going to go back to Genesis 20. You're going to have to remember to always think spiritual when you're reading this Bible. If you think carnally, you're going to think a totally different thing happened. Something different happened when it's talking about Sarah being taken. And these men who are teaching these carnal doctrines, they don't understand what it's saying. But I'm about to give it to you right now. And Abraham journeyed from thence toward the south country, and dwelled between Kadesh and Shur, and sojourned in Gerar. And Abraham said of Sarah his wife, She is my sister. And Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent and took Sarah. So now, you probably thinking that he kidnapped her. Verse 3. But God came to Abimelech in a dream by night, and said to him, Behold, thou art but a dead man, for the woman which thou hast taken, for she is a man's wife. We told you what wife meant. Well, let me explain it to you. So when it said that Abraham went to dwell in Gerar, he sojourned in Gerar. Dwell means set up a house, pitch a tent. Meaning he started teaching a different doctrine than the land of Gerar. That's what that's talking about. So when he set up his house and began to sojourn or dwell or whatever, he dwelled between Kadesh and Shur and sojourned in Gerar. It's talking about he set up a tent. He started a church. All right. His wife is a doctrine he named Sarah. The Most High, we just read, he changed the name to Sarah. Abraham didn't want conflict with the men of the land, so he hid the identity of his doctrine when he started living there. All right. He was afraid they might kill him if he started teaching his doctrine. Carnally, the king took Sarah, translate to take physical possession of her. Spiritually, it means they took away his authority to teach his doctrine. The Most High gives Abimelech a dream at night. Night means ignorance. When you see night, it means ignorance. And tells him he will die because he prevented Abraham from teaching his doctrine. Let's keep reading. But Abimelech had not come near her. And he said, Lord, wilt thou slay also a righteous nation? Said he not unto me, she is my sister? And even she herself said, he is my brother? In the integrity of my heart and innocency of my hands have I done this. And God said unto him in a dream, Yea, I know that thou didst this in the integrity of thy heart. For I also withheld thee from sinning against me. Therefore suffered I thee not to touch her. Okay. So Abimelech asked the Lord if he will kill his nation, even though he had not heard come near the doctrine. Abraham hid the fact that he was teaching the doctrine. Abimelech said he is innocent. The Most High says he knows he is innocent, and he caused him to do what he did. So the Most High controlled the minds of men, the hearts of men. All right. Let's go to verse 7. Now therefore restore the man his wife, for he is a prophet. And he shall pray for thee, and thou shalt live. And if thou restore her not, know that thou shalt surely die, thou and all that is thine. Therefore Abimelech rose early in the morning. Now you got some understanding. Morning mean understanding. And called all his servants and told all these things in their ears. And the men were sore afraid. Then Abimelech called Abraham and said unto him, What hast thou done unto us? And what have I offended thee, that thou hast brought on me and on my kingdom a great sin? Thou hast done deeds unto me that ought not to be done. And Abimelech said unto Abraham, What sawest thou that thou hast done this thing? So let's explain that. The Most High tells him, Let Abraham preach, for he is a prophet. He will pray for you, and you will live. If you don't allow him to preach, you and your house will die. Then Abimelech rose in the morning, understanding, morning, light, sun, day, understand, okay, wisdom, and told the people of his house, his followers, about the dream, and they were afraid. Then Abimelech asked, Why didn't you tell me you were a preacher? Let's keep reading. We're at verse 11. And Abraham said, Because I thought surely the fear of God is not in this place, and they will slay me for my wife's sake. And yet indeed she is my sister. She is the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother. And she became my wife. And it came to pass, when God caused me to wander from my father's house, that I said unto her, This is thy kindness which thou shalt show unto me. At every place whither we shall come, say of me, He is my brother. Let's explain that. Abraham was afraid that they didn't know the Most High, and they would kill him if he started teaching about him. He then says she is the daughter, doctrine, of his father, the Most High, because the Most High taught Abraham. He started following the Most High, not his carnal father. They were under a different doctrine. But not the daughter of his mother, and she became my wife. Abraham was raised in the Chaldees, and his mother is the doctrine he was raised on. His father is the Most High, and Sarah is the doctrine he gave Abraham to teach. Y'all got that? He then says, when he converted to the Most High, he would conceal his doctrine when he came into a new place. That was all in his mind. The part about he told his wife Sarah, that Sarah is a doctrine. This all in his mind. Sarah is a doctrine in his mind. Okay? Y'all got to separate that woman from this doctrine. This is in his mind. He's saying to himself, when I come to this new place, I ain't going to tell them about my doctrine. Because if I start teaching this doctrine in this place and they don't know nothing about God, they might go out and string me up. So I have to be careful how I teach. You see that? His fear of those people caused him not to teach. Y'all see that? Okay. So let's go to verse 14 so you can get the understanding of the rest of it. And Abimelech took sheep and oxen and men servants and women servants and gave them unto Abraham and restored him Sarah his wife. And Abimelech said, Behold, my land is before thee. Dwell where it pleaseth thee. And unto Sarah he said, Behold, I have given thy brother 1,000 pieces of silver. Behold, he is to thee a covering of the eyes unto all that are with thee, and with all others. Thus she was reproved. So Abraham prayed unto God, and God healed Abimelech and his wife and his servants, and they bare children. For the Lord had fast closed up all the wombs of the house of Abimelech because of Sarah, Abraham's wife. Now that's saying a whole lot. That's saying a whole lot. So let me explain what it's saying. Verse 14, where it says, And Abimelech took sheep and oxen, men servants and women servants, and gave them unto Abraham, and restored him Sarah his wife. Y'all know that, make sure I got them all, sheep, followers, oxen, followers, men servant, followers, and women servant, followers. They all were followers of Abimelech. All right, so he turned them people over to be taught by Abraham. Abimelech gives followers to be taught by Abraham, and he gives him authority to teach in that land. He gave the land over to Abraham. Abraham began to teach them people. He then states he will give 1,000 men and women to be taught by Abraham. Then Abraham healed all of Abimelech's house, and the doctrine prospered. That's what that's saying. Y'all see that? Because whenever you come to the part where it says, For the Most High had fast closed up the wombs of the house of Abimelech, his doctrine wasn't prospering. Women have wombs. Women are doctrines. All, whether it was daughters, wives, maids, women servant, maid servants, and all that. that's all of those doctrines that was in that land. The Most High destroyed them doctrines whenever Abraham started preaching. Genesis 26 is telling how the same thing happened to Isaac. He was afraid to teach in Gerar. That's the same place his father was. But Abimelech discovered he was a preacher like his father. He later begins to dig wells in the land. Wells bring forth water, meaning he was building churches in the land of Gerar. You can read the rest of it on your own, but it's telling the same story. If you read and you understand that the wells are churches, the Most High is telling you the same thing happened to Isaac that happened to Abraham. Because he followed Abraham's example. He was a preacher just like his father was. All right. Now, we're going to talk about another woman. Now, this woman is kind of controversial. Dinah. From what you have been taught carnally, Dinah is Jacob's daughter. And the camp that I used to attend taught me how she goes to spy out the daughters of the land of Shechem. One of the princes of Shechem takes her and rapes her. He then asks his father to arrange for him to marry Dinah. And the men of Shechem agree to become circumcised by cutting off their foreskins and becoming as Jacob and his house are. Later, 2 of the sons of Jacob, Levi and Simeon, come and slay all the men of Shechem, while they are sore from the procedure of cutting off their foreskin. Then Jacob has to flee the land in fear for his life against the inhabitants in the area. Okay? Everything I just told you is the reason you can't trust carnal understanding of the Bible. A man takes your daughter and you just let him keep her. 2 of his sons have overwhelming strength and overpower an entire village of men. 2 men taking on a whole village, and they kill everybody. They kill innocent men when one of the commandments is don't murder your brother. Now, they represent the righteous in this story. That's a Jewish fable. These are snares and traps the Most High said the thorns would teach. You got to be smarter. You got to understand what this story is talking about.